All right, so it's been about 10 minutes and you can see really the big difference in the yeast, how it's exploded. It's got that nice foam on top. So our yeast is all activated and good and ready to go. So what we're gonna do now is a little bit of what I call the old tabletop Italian pizza dough method. So I've got my yeast, beautiful yeast. I'm gonna put my salt in here. Again, a chef's best tools are their hand. I don't need to sift this or anything because we're gonna work this and develop some gluten in it, so it's really not necessary to do that. Now, the old Italian tabletop method, you need to make sure you have a nice clean tabletop, and I'm just gonna go ahead and dump this out on here. Good mise en place, putting everything together, ready to go over to the kitchen or dish room, wherever I'm working at. And what I wanna do is just gather this up and just make a well in the center, okay? A nice well in the center. All right, so I've got 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going to go ahead and pour that in there. Some recipes use the olive oil, some don't. It's just personal preference. I like a little bit of that flavor. And then I'm going to go ahead and start pouring in my yeast. All right, so a little bit at a time. Now, when we make this well, you're going to go ahead and just pull in the sides. I'm going to open it up. You're going to use a fork. So this is the old Italian tabletop method. If you have a stand mixer, of course, it has the dough hook. But you notice I don't pour all the water in at once because I don't want it to come oozing out. I want to give it a little bit of structure. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to add the rest of that water, and you see my yeast come out. Now at that point. Okay, so I've got all that. I want to get all that beautiful yeast in here. All right. Again, this is what my mise en place is going to look like. This is going right over to the dish room for cleaning. Nothing is on my counter. Now, what you want to do is you want to knock down the edges. All right. And you're going to work that into the product. Now, if you happen to get a hole in it, I'll make a hole on purpose. You don't have to worry about it because when there is a little flood and you just scoop that all up, all right? Move my fork out of the way and I can just gather up the liquid and just start working it in. So a flood isn't a big deal. Don't worry about a flood. It doesn't matter, all right? I could have made a little bit bigger well in the center. And so that's the nice thing about gluten products. Number one, this is why you don't want to have fingernails because it's harder to work these yeast products with fingernails. And with that, you have to wear gloves, and you don't want to always have to wear gloves. So I'm going to start working this dough. You can see I'm gathering it up into a mass. I just pull it off my fingers. And we watched the one gentleman, he floured his fingers a little bit. His hands got a little bit of flour in his hands. You just get the product off just like that. Bench scraper, and then we're going to continue to form this up and work this into a nice, beautiful pizza dough. Okay, so beautiful pizza dough is coming. Working that up. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and get a bench scraper. Some of you may or may not remember what a bench scraper is, but I'm going to show you really briefly how to use a bench scraper. And what the bench scraper does is it just gets the product off of the line. So you can see just working it. If it gets on your hands, you just take it and you pull it off of your hands. Now, of course, you know, if you have a stand mixer with a dough hook, cleanup is going to be a whole lot easier. You need to have, that's why I said you needed to have a nice counter space in order to work this dough. And you can see, Chef, you can see it's starting to pull up all the crumbs. All right, just working it into a nice mass. And this is when I can start the kneading process. Notice how this countertop now really doesn't have a whole lot on it. Nice and clean, and it's forming that beautiful mass. All right. So this is where we're starting with it. Again, if you need to, you can go ahead and wipe any leftover doughs off your hands. All right, and then I'm just going to continue. Now, part of the kneading process is that we need to knead this for 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm not going to keep the video going, but you can see how basically my marble countertop really is virtually clean. Just a little bit of flour on it. And I've got that dough mass, and you can see how it forms and comes together. If it gets too sticky, I can add a little bit of flour, which Chef has a little bit of extra flour over here. So about 10 minutes, it is a workout to forming this nice little, this is one pizza dough. Usually this will make about a 10-inch pizza. You can see I've got it formed there. I'm going to pause the video real quickly, and then I'll come right back.